Hello and welcome to another long and tedious video about bicycle wheel building. Now it's getting a bit more interested. I might start doing something. Finally, again, I would suggest to buy books for bicycle building because they explain it all nicely. It's quicker to see, but for those who want to see procedure done by an awkwardly using Tarzan English and a bit awkwardly done, well, you can see the video. And we need to prepare things before we start building wheel. And what is important? It's important to lubricate both the nipples, no, not nipples, the interface between the nipple and the rim. That needs to be lubricated so that nipple can turn easily, smoothly, without damaging the rim, because we want to build the wheels easily to tension. And the other thing we want to do is to lubricate the threads on the spokes where the nipples will be turned in. Now, for doing that, the easiest way is to get some relatively low viscosity oil or thin oil. Some winter car oil or some fine machinery oil is good for that. Don't use any used oil, you need new clean oil for this. And you just take all the spokes, stuck them in here, let them drip off, and put them on some sort of rug or something like this paper towel for all the excess oil to drip off. The next thing you want to do is lubricating the interface of the nipples on the rim, and for that the easiest thing is to use something like this for cleaning the ears or something like hygiene, and you just dip it into oil and pass along all the holes. And when you are building a wheel, you always start at the valve, so that you know that you have made the entire turn. So even when I build wheels, I make, because it's easy in the rush of things to miss something, I usually mark the valve hole. It may look stupid to many people, but when you start building wheels, you realize the first time you miss it and you're not sure if you went all the way around or half a turn, especially if a phone rings or something like that. You'll remember this and you will probably thank me for having mentioned it. Okay, so now we've done this, and the next thing we will do, I will not show it in the video to not take up too much time, or I might just demonstrate on a few ones, but this is what we will use to lubricate the interface and prepare it. And we will also lubricate the spokes. Here we have the spokes of the proper length. And now let's just make everything prepared. Okay, so we got the nipples and we got the spokes. Make it more convenient. Okay. There, and these are the spokes we will use for the right hand side, as we had calculated 290, sorry, for the left hand side 296 millimeters. So like this, and we need this on the left hand side, and since it's a 32 spoke wheel, that means we need 16 spokes on the left hand side. So just need to, let's say, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 16. Well, that should suffice. These are left as a reserve. And another thing that I suggest doing when you're buying spokes in a shop, because sometimes they get mismatched, put in different boxes, to just do this and see if they are all the same length. And if you are in a country like mine where it's impossible to find enough spokes in every length, it's not a bad idea to measure each particular one just in case, because there might not be other ones in the shop. So if you can't find enough spokes in one length, it makes no use to try and build the wheel with different size spokes is difficult, so it's better to go with a bit shorter spokes using longer nipples and so on. So for this situation, these were measured and checked, but this is how it's done. Just this tool is made for that purpose, so you can just measure and double check. It's 296 millimeters. It's convenient because you have a place to stick the elbow in and measure accurately, because it's measured from, as you can see, from the inside of the elbow. That is the relevant effective length of a spoke. So there we are with our left hand side spokes, and we want to lubricate them, which we will do now. Okay. Anything extra we want out, and there they go. You can also use anti-seize paste, which is a good idea, especially if you're working with aluminium nipples, which I don't recommend generally, and if the rims are not reinforced by having these sort of steel reinforcements and they are of aluminium. In that case, it's a good idea to use some anti-seize paste like we have here. So you just use some sort of brush or that cleaner I showed earlier, which I put here, and use it to lubricate everything. It's a bit more tedious when you need to lubricate spoke threads, but you can do it. Okay, but in this case it's not necessary. Now we lubricate the right hand side spokes, and this part can be probably cut from the video. We don't want it to be too long, but this is the basic principle we need. I prefer to have the right amount of spokes put aside, so I know that I prepare them all and they're ready, and when I start building it just goes smoothly. So again, we can check for whether they're all the same length and measure. One, if they're all the same length, the other one will probably be the same length. And yes, it's 294 millimeters. Okay. So let's lubricate the spokes. Okay. And they're ready. Now we need to lubricate the rim. For that, it's best to just go around the rim, starting at the valve hole, and just lubricate it. This is important. You should not miss doing this. It looks perhaps a bit ridiculous, but it's a lot of help for properly building a bicycle wheel. So good preparation makes building a lot easier. And it's done. Okay, we got it finished now. For the first phase of building a bicycle wheel, I like to start from the right hand side and start placing from there. And I also want to start by placing spokes that will go through the inside. Well, there are not many spokes, because later when I have one side aligned and the other side aligned for the opposing direction spokes, I can just put them through the hub and out, so it's easy to maneuver them. Doing it the vice versa is very difficult. And I also like to make it aligned so that any writing on the hub is aligned with the hole for the valve, with the valve hole on the rim. This hub has no marking here, but it has these nice markings on the side. And so in this case, I will try to make this part align with the hole in the rim for the valve. And in order to do that, if I were lacing radially, I would have just placed the spoke that goes closest to the valve hole into this hole. But since we are doing not one, not two, but three across, we will move exactly 3 holes across, because when it is put to the side, this will align perfectly. And so that is what we will do in this case. And let's start. So we will use this hole to start with. And how we do it is, since this is the right hand side spokes that are a bit shorter, I will use this. And another thing I want to do, so that I don't mix up, I put ones on the right, I put this to sit, and start doing it slowly. Okay, so we start from 1, 2, 3 here, and what we want to do is take first one inside, and we put it through the rim hole that is closest to the valve hole. And we need to check that the proper hole alignment is achieved, because you see this hole is closer to the right, so that's what we want. If it were not the case, we would have had to do with the other one, but in this case it's perfect. So you just put it like this, and we just a few turns so it holds. Okay, that's one. Now we can move in either direction. What we want to do is to put not in the adjacent hole, but the one after it, because every second one will go from the opposite side. So we're lacing it here, and since these come in, spokes come in 4 pairs. You have one on the inside from the right, one on the inside from the left. Then you have one that goes on the outside from the right, and then one that goes from the outside to the left. So you have 1, 2, 3, and only on the 4th hole you put the next one. So they come in 4 pairs, and every 4th hole is laced. We just don't want to do it like crossed from the start. We can go either this way or this way, but that's okay. So here's the next one, and we will do this for the entire rim, and then we'll do the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just mind not to scratch the rim. There are special tools for lacing wheels that will hold the rim and the hub in place, and I don't have them, so this is how I do it. And now, if we did everything correctly, we have 8 spokes left here, which means that we have spent exactly half the spokes that we have for the right hand side on lacing this side of the hub. The other half will be used from the other side. But now we need to start lacing the left hand side. And how do we do that? Well, here, let's look at it from this angle. The spoke from the opposite side must go to this hole, because we want to, when we lace the wheel completely, we want this to be clear of spokes. We don't want any spokes crossing near the rim, near the valve, so it's difficult to pump it up. And this is why when we started from next to the valve, because once everything is done, you will see that it will be clear. So it's not clear right now, but it will be later. Anyway, in order to choose from where to start on the other side, you will see when you look at the hub that the holes are mismatched. One is a bit to the left and the other one is a bit to the right compared to the hole used. I'm not sure if you can get the right camera angle, but This one is a bit to the left, I think. That's what you need to look out for. So you align the spokes, align the hub and the holes, and you try to see, okay, this is the one we use. So I'm taking one left hand side spoke, putting it through and placing it in the hole, just one place left from this side. Once we have laced this hole, now we can go just like we did on the right hand side. For me it's easier to just turn it around, and we go again every second hole and every fourth hole on the rim. And since we have already laced the right hand side, we don't even have to count. We just use always one to the right. And that should be it. Just be careful to not miss anything or make a mistake, because it can be visible. It can often be visible only when you're almost done, so you need to redo it again. So just make sure that this is all properly, that every second, always from the inside, spokes coming from the inside, here always to the right, or whichever method you use to orient yourself, but just be consistent and pay attention. This is very nice, meditative, and very good wheel builders will probably do this with a lot less talk and a lot quicker than I am doing. I'm a bit equally clumsy with both hands. Of course, having a good machine or stationery for building wheels is also good, like a wheel building rig, but I don't have it. Now we have laced it all the way around, and it looks good, like one from the left, one from the right, one from the left, one from the right. Every fourth hole, it all looks relatively okay. Now, because we are building wheel with a cross, what I explained about the lining, we will see now in practice. It's a bit difficult with the elbows not aligned very well, but here it is. So you just rotate this counterclockwise, and we got it about right. So now we can start lacing the opposing going spokes. When doing that, it is important for the double-walled rims to have some sort of a tool to help you place the nipple onto the spoke, especially in the later stages, and that can be easily done using the tool we had previously used by just chopping it at an angle so that you can put a nipple onto it and screw it in. Another way to use it, another improvised tool, is something like this. This is just an old spoke that's made to work as a tool, so you can screw the nipple in and just put it inside so it doesn't get stuck inside the box or the rim. Especially, this is especially awkward when doing it with rims that don't have all the way enclosed, but you have an empty space inside. I'll just briefly show that example. Here it is, working with a rim like this. If you drop a nipple inside, it's a bit tricky to get it out, so you waste a lot of time. Now, this is unfortunately not a paid advert. I wish it were. Anyway, I'm a fan of Junior Tools, and they make this tool, and it's worth every cent. I don't even remember how much I had paid for it, but it's used to easily put a nipple onto it and place it into the rim. So it's got this to hold it in place so it doesn't turn. This little serration on, and it's perfect, it's brilliant. So let's start. Now, what we talked about, imagine if we had put all the outside going spokes first and then need it to go through the inside. It's very tricky because you need to get it through, then get it all the way across, lace it. It will make wheel building very, very tedious, to say the least. But this way, when we're doing this other go, we can start any time, any place, because we just know that we need to build 3 across as we had calculated. So don't miss this first one. People often miss the first one. So that's 1, this is 2, and this is the third one. For the last one, whether you're building 2 across or 1 across, then the first one is the last one, or 4 across. The last spoke, when you get to it, you put the spoke under it. Paying attention not to kink the spoke, to bend it so that it stays bent, that's not good. And not to scratch the rim also, so you need to just get it down. And then back. And to the nearest hole, because every second hole is used for spokes coming from the right hand side, while every other second is used for the spokes coming from the left hand side. So the rim is held in balance. Also you see the spokes coming from 2 opposite sides of the hub are next to each other, so they are sort of pulling against each other, holding each other in balance. And the same thing we'll do for this outer going spoke. So we'll have this one and the one from the left hand side being one next to each other, pulling, and that makes that sort of tension that keeps the whole rim in balance. So that's the reason why they are built the way they are. So the next thing we do is we place this tool, and you see how difficult this would have been if I couldn't use a tool like this, because at this stage the spokes just won't come out high enough for making it easy to do this by hand. Okay, so now first to make a check through all this talking, if I had missed the spoke. 2, 4, 6, 7, okay, and I should have 8 of these. 2, 4, 6, 8, okay, good. I'm not very good when talking and working at the same time. It's very complicated for me, especially in a foreign language. So we take the next one. 1, 2, 3 goes under, and watching not to scratch the rim. Oh, and there we go. And we'll do this all the way around, and then go for the left hand side. We will probably cut this from the video or speed it up, but this is the basic principle, and once you have done this properly, you can consider your wheel properly laced, and only then can you go on to the next stage, which is building the wheel bringing the wheel to its total optimal spoke tension, and making sure it is straight and true, and that it will last long. Alright. Probably do the last part on some other day, because this has taken a lot longer than I had expected, because I talk too much, as you can see. Okay, now we have done the whole right hand side, and we will do again the same for the left hand side. Again, since this is in this last stage, it's not that important where you start. You just need to make sure that you put all the spokes without missing anyone. So again, we start 1 across, that's the first one, 2, then under the third, back to the only left spoke hole that can reasonably hold the spoke can reasonably reach, so you cannot miss it. And there, it's all laced up, and now it looks a bit funny because the spokes are leaving a bit at an angle, then going back, and We will fix this all in the later stages of wheel building and explain it all in a separate video, but this is as far as preparation and lacing goes. So thanks for watching and cheers.